He likes to talk about lore a lot. He likes to talk about canon.
Canon and continuity.
Look, he acts like a purist, right? That everything needs to be exactly this, exactly that, or it's, it's wrong or whatever. And so my theory is, if you believe in multiverse theory, which, why not? Let's do it just for the fuck of it right now. The multiverse is real. Somewhere out there in the multiverse, there's got to be a universe where Eric July understands multiverses. And I think we can find him.
Ponder the question, what if?
I don't understand it.
I think we can find the variant of Eric who you like, hey, do you know what a multiverse is? And he's like, yeah, of course I do. And I'd be like, hey man, I don't know if you know this, but pretty much all the other variants of you, they don't understand it. And he would probably be pretty embarrassed to learn that. But I believe he's out there somewhere.
I don't understand it. I understand it.
He's got a podcast or something, a series that he does called For Canon's Sake. And he likes to talk about canon a lot. He likes to talk about lore, and he loves to say that the mainstream comics industry are disrespecting and destroying canon and lore, and like they don't respect what came before and so on, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I've always wondered what he meant by that. And then I started really kind of thinking about the examples of things that we've already covered on this channel with him. And then I started looking at some of his like content, like other stuff that I haven't looked at yet. Just like, what does he give any examples what he means by disrespected canon? Because I've got, especially Marvel, but DC, some DC too, I've got a dozen reference books, whether it's like the mythological side of Marvel, the history of the Marvel universe, and then I've got another history one from I think the 80s. There's very little that I've seen or noticed that, and I'm somebody that digs into canon, and I've been reading this shit all my life, and I love canon too. So I get it. Like, I get the love for canon, but I also know the canon, and I understand the mechanics of storytelling and how canon can be changed, right? Like we talked about it before with the Winter Soldier being a retcon from Bucky, who he was dead. He was dead. He died at the end of World War II, and that was it. And then Ed Brubaker comes along. He has this idea, and he says, well, no, what if Bucky had actually been, so the story. And the Winter Soldier is a very popular character. A lot of people love the original story he was in. Very good. A lot of cool stuff done with him over the years. And now he's, very well-known character in mainstream audiences. I don't think anybody would really try to argue that was a bad retcon. I don't know. Maybe somebody would. But yeah, so I started looking at some examples and realized, oh, this is what he means. This is what he means when he says they're disrespecting the canon, they're disrespecting the lore, they're breaking the lore, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, his increased rhetoric about being the God King of comic books is... you're not the only one who's noticed, and it's starting to annoy.
Well, we're going to fucking destroy that today. Just, no, I don't want to beat around the bush. I'm going to dismantle that concept, that idea, that aesthetic, that narrative that he's created for himself. I'm going to prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt, complete, utter bullshit. The guy is full of shit. And when I say he's a grifter, this is what I mean. I'm not going to talk shit on somebody just for not knowing the things that I know, right? What I will talk shit on is somebody not knowing the things that are just true. And then either, I don't know if he's wrong or if he's lying or stupid or what. I want to lean towards lying, but I don't know. But I've got several examples here that will show that he's wrong. Whatever the intention is, whether it's intentional or not, stupid, lying, I don't know. It's an arrogance that is unearned, undeserved, and I really, really want to fucking poke a hole in it, because so far talking about Eric July, all I've done is I talked about the marketing of his comic book, his career, his the comics itself, the fundraising, the marketing, and so on. But what really haven't gotten into what appears to be his understanding of how comics work and what things mean. I mean, we've hinted at it. There's definitely a couple of memes here and there. You know what I mean?
I don't understand it.
That's not from him talking about comics. That's from him talking about the roads. But I like to use it when it comes to multiverses because, man, he really doesn't. So just to remind you, here's his logo for his show. You know, I mean, think about where the original phrase there is like, for God's sake, right? For Christ's sake. So he's placing canon as basically God of comic book lore, I guess.
I believe that the word canon originally comes, it begins with the church as well.
I think you're right. If he wants to elevate canon to such a high degree that he's literally equating it to godliness, I'm not going to disagree with him on that. I'll do it too. Sure. Let's look at canon as the be all end all, but I think it's important to understand what it means. I think it's important to understand that the things your claims you're making about it are accurate. So I am stealing a show. We're going to do a for canon's sake. All right. So if you've seen my previous coverage on Eric July, I mean, I guess you maybe know that I've kind of made fun of him a bit because two times that I knew of, he took an alternate version of literally an alternate reality character that's a twist on the one we know, on a classic character, and he and Comicsgate broadly, you know, all of them, they act like the way they talk about it on Twitter and stuff on their videos is like, oh, they're putting this new character in there, and it's like Sun Spider, for example.
Guess we got some more artwork on this Edge of the Spider-Verse. I don't know which issue this is going to be. I know they're doing the black tokenized Spider-Woman or Spider-Man right now. Black tokenized Spider-Man right now.
So black tokenized Spider-Man.
As far as now, I ain't talking about Peter Darker. It's a female one, I think from the UK or something like that. So now we have this this whole web of spider nonsense. I've said before, it's one of the worst mistakes Marvel had ever made.
One of the worst mistakes Marvel has ever made was creating the Spider-Verse concept and then making a worldwide animated phenomenon that, how can he possibly believe the shit he's saying, dude? No Way Home and Spider-Verse, billion-dollar movies, exist because of Spider-Verse, what he calls nonsense. That's a mistake.
Now you have a million spider folk, which doesn't even make sense when you consider Peter's origin.
Dude, it's a multiverse.
I don't understand it.
Ponder the question, what if?
The idea of a multiverse is not new. It's new to mainstream consciousness, for sure. Like, just pretty much Spider-Verse really introduced the idea of a multiverse. But, you know, it's been around a few years now. It's been in a couple of billion-dollar movies. It's been in Loki. It's been in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's right there in the title. To say that it doesn't make any sense to have multiverse versions of a character is to fundamentally misunderstand the modern state of comics and comics media. Flat out.
Of course, capture the or piggyback off of this massive sort of IP that they have in Spider-Man, and it being one of the most prominent superheroes ever to exist. So now they're just running it dry with all these different versions of a spider folk.
This all takes place within the pages of the Edge of Spider-Verse event, the same way that the previous two Spider-Verse events, him acting like they're just, you know, putting out single issue, you know, single series starring one of these Spider-Men per title, is once again dishonest or just stupid. And what is the idea that whenever you have a popular character that you should not build on that? Like, it really does seem like he doesn't have a great understanding of business. An alternate version of Spider-Man, who is one of hundreds of variations that exist in the comics, and who probably is going to exist for, you know, a few pages at a time at most, like many of the other ones. This version isn't taking over Peter Parker. This version, Sun Spider's not becoming the new Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe. None of that. Do you want to just kind of run down how this came about, the Eric July debate thing?
Oh yeah, I just he was talking crap and I emailed him and he wanted to monetize me. I said, hey, you can monetize me. I'm a hater, whatever. And he just I don't even remember when. I think it was like the next day. We had set it up literally for the next day, and I just showed up.
All right. So from what I can tell, this was the context behind this conversation was he was upset about Superman. This is at the point when I think they were still talking about J.J. Abrams, maybe.
Oh, true. Okay, that's what you meant. Sorry.
Yeah.
I took a gummy, Dane. I'm not gonna. I wasn't expecting to come on. Sorry, man.
It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, there was, when they were still talking about maybe doing that. I think it was J.J. Abrams they were talking about doing that movie, right?
Yeah, I think he was producing it for a bit.
that they were going to do a new take on Superman, and it was going to be a black guy.
Let's use an actual example. What do you think of the new rumors that the next Superman might be a black actor?
I'm not a fan.
Why?
Because Superman is not black.
Superman's not human.
Yes, he is. He actually is a humanoid. He's just not from Earth.
So he's an alien.
So the part that I was focused on prior to this was the end part where he says he's not. He's a what? It's so
he is
dumb.
a humanoid, and it's like, well, that's a goalpost shift. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not even accurate. Let me listen again because it's so dumb.
Yes, he is. He actually is a humanoid.
So Perp says he's not human, and Eric says no, he is. He's a humanoid. They don't mean the same thing. We've talked about that before. Where like a humanoid, like Data from Star Trek, is a humanoid because he's generally human features. That's what a humanoid is.
Mhm.
A humanoid can be anything. A cosmic entity can take a humanoid form. It's not an interchangeable thing. It's not. So that's a dumb defense on its own. But even still, the idea that an alien humanoid can't be a black guy is also stupid. And like, why not? But then there's more. Just within that, there's more stupidness, right? That's why it's a multiverse of morons over here.
I wasn't helping either.
and the thing that he likes to say about canon, they're disrespecting canon and lore and stuff like that. What I realize he means by that is stuff like this, where they're like, hey, let's do this take of Superman that's, black Superman, right? But this black Superman is not Clark Kent. They were not planning to make him Clark Kent and just say he's black. It was going to be either this one, the Kal-El with Calvin Ellis, who is the president in an alternate Earth 23, or it was going to be Val Zod. I'm pretty sure it was going to be Val Zod, who is also from an alternate universe. And then you start to see a recurring pattern with Eric July. Poison Ivy is a fat lesbian now. Fat lesbian. All right. So here's the thing.
It's clobbering time.
Would you guys believe me if I told you this is not honest? The deceptive narrative is DC is making Poison Ivy a fat lesbian, implying the character is forever ruined by SJWs or wokeness. Actual context. The story is from Catwoman Lonely City, which is disconnected from the main continuity of the DC universe. Catwoman Lonely City is not canon, does not affect the established lore or the aesthetic of Poison Ivy or any other character. This is colloquially called an Elseworlds story from the now defunct line of DC comics that exist in alternate realities using characters and concepts we're familiar with. Basically, DC's version of What If.
Ponder the question, what if?
I don't understand.
He has a problem with alternate reality takes on stuff, and he also thinks that breaks canon. No, these things are canon, dude. They fucking are canon. You may not like them, you may not understand it, but they are canon. Do you even know what canon means? Like, for somebody that has a show called For Canon's Sake, he seems to really not fucking grasp the concept. It's just pretty crazy to think that a guy who professes to be an expert, basically, and on comics and is constantly getting bent out of shape about canon doesn't understand it. I'm not going to do it. It doesn't break canon. I won't, like I said, I won't defend DC stuff to anybody because for one, I don't know it as well. And I also do think they have broken canon a little bit from just a little bit I know, but Marvel, I will defend against any claims. If there's an email, send me an email, actualfandom@gmail.com, fill out one of the debate forums. That's also on my channel, on my Twitter bio. If you think that there's something in Marvel Comics that the canon has been broken, and they're just like ignoring something that happened in the past to tell it, then please let's talk about it. It doesn't have to be a debate, but I really want to know, because typically whenever I see those kind of claim, it's something like this. It's adaptations, legacy characters, and alternate reality takes that they think breaks canon.
Oh, I was just going to come in with the hot take and say, even if it was a black Clark Kent from an alternate dimension, it's still an alternate dimension. So I'd even argue that doesn't break canon.
You're 100%. It doesn't break canon. It may not exist in this reality. it may not even cross over to this reality, which makes it even more fat lesbian poison ivy. You know, like that's probably never going to cross over into the main DC continuity. Sun Spider is literally happens in Spider-Verse, which is literally about crossing over these realities, but it doesn't change anything. It doesn't make Peter Parker's story less, you know, important or whatever. It doesn't take anything away. And I don't get it, man. I'm really refraining from hitting the drop right now, but I don't understand it.
It does seem that he doesn't understand the concept of alternate realities or alternate universes, because although Marvel has established that their MCU is in an alternate universe to the comic books, before that, they didn't. Neither company established that the films were in a different continuity to the comic books, but they clearly were, because different stuff happened.
But the idea that, and this is another thing that's kind of tangential but related, he's supposed to be a libertarian, and he's basically wanting to restrict creativity. You know, he's wanting to limit what can be done with expression, which, you know, from what I understand is like the opposite of what libertarians are supposed to be about. But he's just a Republican, basically. You know, he may say he doesn't vote for Trump or whatever the fuck, but like, dude, in effect, all of his content is just regular old conservative. Libertarian is just, especially these days, that's just a label for people that don't want to admit they're Republican, that think they're too cool to call themselves a Republican. But yeah, as this says here, Black Superman is canon. He is canon. It just is canon because it exists, and it was created by these publishers that own the IP. It just is. You may not like it. You may, you know, I wouldn't care if he was making videos to sell his kind of boring book, to saying that, you know what, I don't like these alternate reality characters, you know, but like, that's their IP. They can do it if they want to or whatever. But that's not what he's saying. It's like, it's botched opportunities. It's breaks canon and lore. It's like, I'm not a gatekeeper, man, but like when it comes to using concepts that you don't seem to understand and creating arbitrary gatekeeping rules, doing that, and then I have to deal with people. They're going to be in the comments of this fucking stream and whatever video. They're going to be saying it and repeating this bullshit as if they don't listen to what I say. And that they don't understand it either. It is canon.
From our experience, the greatest danger to the multiverse, it turns out, is Doctor Strange.
I don't understand it.